Hey Stampers, Diane Divich here with DDStamps.com, and tonight, I'm actually doing things a little bit differently again, because that's what I do. I've got my laptop set up here to do my face, I guess, answer questions, all that other jazz. And then I've got my workspace that's right here. So there should not be a big difference with the mic. Hopefully it's picking up. If there's somebody out there that actually can, oh yeah, somebody gave me a thumbs up. Good. I hope that means that you can hear and you can see me. I did have a few issues today. I just got the laptop today and we set it up, and of course things were not working quite like I wanted them to, but I think we've got it all figured out right now, and I just was wrapping up a couple things in my stamp room to show you. So if you're out there, let me know, and if you have any questions, feel free to mention them in the comments. I'll be able to kind of monitor comments now with this new setup that I have, which is great. And then if you're on my website, which people can go to my website and listen and watch. Hi, Beth. Your comments will come through my email, and I've actually got that pulled up too. So hopefully, if you hear a little dinging once in a while, it's just a message or email or whatever. So if there's no big questions, oh good. I'm glad that you can hear and see me. That's great. I kind of was fiddling around with the lights today and the sound, and I kind of How about now? Can you hear me now? It looked to me as if my sound went out, which very well could have happened. So hopefully I got that back working. We'll just keep plugging away here in the hopes that everything works out well. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera. I've got a technique to show you tonight, and then a fun fold card, and a couple projects I made with new product that's coming out, available to demonstrators or anybody wanting to be a demonstrator in April, available to the rest of the world May 1st. I sent out an email yesterday for my catalogs. I'm going to get ready to send them out, the new catalogs, and I just want to make sure I have everybody's correct address, because sometimes they come back to me and that is not so good. But so if you got that email, great. If you didn't, let me know. Just send me an email and I'll send you a link to the form to fill out. I just want to make sure I have people's correct addresses before I send out a bunch of catalogs. I don't know what else. Did I miss anything? All right, I'm going to switch over and we're going to just talk a little bit about the last chance products list, and then we'll get to the demonstration. Again, if you have questions, let me know. And if something's not working, like if you all of a sudden can't hear me, or, just wave to me in the comments and hopefully I'll pick it up and I can get that fixed. So last chance product list came out for both this catalog and this catalog. They're two different lists. Products that are on these lists, and the big catalog is a big list, but the products that are on there are as supplies last. So, oh good, the sound did come back on. Thanks, Marielle. So if there's something on here that you want, I would recommend that you get it. Now, if there's something on here that's on sale, some of these products are on sale, especially the big catalog, they do not go on sale until April 9th. And so if you want them on sale at a sale price, hey Tana, if you want them on sale, if you want them at the sale price, I would recommend as close to April 9th that you can get them, because again, they're as supplies last. So I suspect that some things will disappear. These are, I think I put these both up on my website, the last chance list. I know I sent out an email. If you're not on the email list, you might want to visit www.DDStamps.com. Hi, Cindy. And just add your name to my email list, because everything goes out there for sure. And I try to put stuff up on my blog. As you know, over the last couple months, I've had some issues with my blog, and it looks to me as if I'm going to be working with somebody to update my blog a little bit. So hopefully that will work. Anyway, all right, so let's get to, let me put these down. I tried to be so organized today, and then my new computer or laptop came and things just got disorganized, but that's all right. That's kind of how I am. So I'm going to start with the new project. So I made this over the weekend. And this is using some of the new products in the catalog, which this is the cover. It's the only thing I can show you is the cover, but I can actually show you products made or things made with it and the products that I have. So that's the new catalog that's coming out. This is a sampler that I made. I love this. I loved this birdhouse stamp set. And the country, it's called Country Flowers and Country Birdhouse. Let me grab them. So it's 2 sets. And in this sampler, I used both sets. And they each have a matching die that goes with them. As you can see, this birdhouse is as big as this birdhouse. It's big. It's a good sized birdhouse. But then it has, all parts and pieces that you can put it together, and they use some dimensionals. But that was really fun to play with this weekend. When I first opened up the new catalog, this was the 2-page layout that stood out to me as absolutely lovely. And so I don't know if I can see all the comments, but okay. Anyway, I can zoom in. Probably shouldn't try to get too fancy, but I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can actually see these up close. I can lift them up, but look at that birdhouse. So this has a lot going on. It's got the die cuts here and over here. It's got some stamped images that I colored with blends. These are all die cuts. The whole birdhouse is die cuts. And then it has this really great embossing folder. Eyelet lace. I don't know if that's what it's called, but and then this is a designer series paper that comes in this collection of products. And then I have all the various, and these little self-adhesive, I wouldn't call them rhinestones because they're not shiny. They're silver and gray, but they're beautiful. Just add a little bit. Again, I cut out the little bench with paper and then added some images. But it just gives you an idea of some of the stuff. Oh, one of the things I wanted to show you. When I do my die cuts, I know some people don't really like the die cuts with the white edges around them. And as you look at my cards or my images I did here, I actually colored these with a light gray. Over here I did kind of whatever color came close to it, just so that I didn't have those white borders going around the edges. So there's another little technique for not having those borders around, those white borders around your projects. So there's that. And then I made some cards with that same set. Let me check and make sure I'm not missing something here. Okay, we're good there. I hope I'm still live. Uh-oh, did I just lose you? I cannot see. I think I'm still live. Goodness. Well, so much for being able to see my... I'm going to try to see if I can see my email. Probably nobody on there anyway. Nope. Okay. No idea what this looks like. So let me know if everything's still good. Because I just made this really tiny. All right. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going. So here are... here, let me pull it up, that screen. So here are the cards that I made with that same suite. Now this, I actually only used the one stamp set for these cards. I only used this stamp set and then the paper. So this is some paper. All the papers that are in here go as one DSP if they have the lacy eyelet looking. Or if they have the wood look, that's another DSP in this collection of products. And I used both those designer series papers. Does that make sense? I hope so. And then this is the stamp set. I only used this one stamp set. I used a espresso ink pad and my blends. And I like to use, your blends can be done with any of your water-based inks. So any of our inks that we have in our regular colors. I used Early Espresso. You can use any color ink. Usually I recommend Memento black because that works. But when you start to use different colors of ink, it just gives a different look to the tone of the card. So it could be, you could use some grays. You could be Sahara sand or those kinds of things. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so there's one card. And then this card uses both of the papers. So it has the wood paper, the Wood Designer Series paper, and then the lace eyelet paper, which I'm not being very good about what the exact name of it is. I can pull it over here. Country Lace. I'm just going to show you the pack. So this is the Country Lace, and it has, you can see I've already got scraps. When I do my papers, I usually keep them in the plastic wrap. This is the various colors, and I showed this last month. And then all my scraps I tuck in here too, so I have them when I need them. And then again, on the back, it tells you what colors coordinate with that paper. So remember that. And then the wood is the same. So there's wood is all different kinds of wood. You can just see a sampling of it here. These are all my scraps. But I store them all in the same container it comes in. And then just store it all together. All right. So on this one, again, all of these cards used Early Espresso ink and blends. So I just love the look of the Early Espresso. And I love my blends. So this one uses the embossing folder. So you can see the eyelet embossing. And again, on this one, this is where you can really see. So these two were die cut out. Actually, all three were. This one was die cut out with some wood paper and stamped on. This one was cut out, but as you can look, if you look really closely, I colored in with a light pool party, because that's the color of the cardstock, so that it kind of blended in more with the card, and you didn't have that bold white border. And on the stool, got a little fancy here, I cut out this circle, and you can see where I colored the pool party up to where the circle was, just so that it wouldn't stand out so much. It's just one of those things for me. I don't have a lot of things that kind of, I don't know, not irritate me, but that I am fussy about. But that seems to be one of them. Now this one is just cut out white. I didn't do anything to it. I used some of the papers. You can see we have a denim look paper and then the lace and a wood. And just put this together really quickly with the blends. This paper I love, that distressed wood. I used some of the other designer paper in the circle. And then again, a piece of the wood with the stamped and die cut out image. I like that. And this one I left white too. So I don't always color them in, but sometimes I do. Now this one, it's okay. It's a sympathy card, so you don't want it to be too carried away fancy. But I have to do something in here, and I haven't figured out yet what. I was looking at it today and just thought, well, I got some time, I'll figure it out. So those are the cards with the country flower stamp set and embossing folder and designer series paper. Beth, I didn't think I liked this set, but you changed my mind. Your cards are so cute. You know, it's funny because that's how it is. Sometimes there's something in the catalog that you absolutely adore and love. This was one of them for me. And sometimes there's things I think, ooh, and then somebody does something with it or some projects and it's awesome. So yes, it happens. It happens a lot. So cool. Okay, let's see, what else do I got here? All right. This is the cards for my tutorial. I did show these last week, but this is the tutorial that I will send you this month. If you place an order with me, everybody gets a tutorial. If you place an order that's over $50, then in April, I send you a packet of supplies to make the projects that, sorry. I am just going to pan out. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit there. Anyway, so you'll get a packet of supplies to make this. So I send cardstock, designer series paper, any embellishments, any ribbon, anything that I use into a packet, and then you get the tutorial and you can make them. But it's just kind of a fun little perk for people. So these are those cards. And these were all stamped with Memento ink and blends. And this is the everyday, it's terrible. I have to look. I don't think I have the stamp set sitting right here. Oh yeah, everyday details. So these are the everyday details dies. So these circles have these little dots in them, or the rectangles. And then it comes with this little tag with the stitching on it. That's cute. This one is just a Z-fold, a little bit different. And then no dies, just the stamp set, some blends, and a little piece of embellishment in the middle of that flower. And then again, you get a rectangle label too, and then all different sizes circles and rectangles. So that's that. I showed that. All right. So let's start with a project. And so one of the stamp sets that I absolutely couldn't live without was this Dainty Delight. Love this stamp set. I loved it from the moment it came out. And its course is on the retiring list. And when I opened up mine, it hadn't been used. So it was one of those stamp sets that I really thought I had to have, and then I didn't use it. But one of the techniques that I've always wanted to do is called no line watercoloring. And this is a great set to start that with because your images are pretty tiny. And I don't really think you can mess it up. I really don't. So I'm just going to come in. This is just a scrap piece of our watercolor paper. I'm just going to cut it. It's down to like 3, I don't know, 3 by, I'll tell you here, 3 by 6. So I think they come 6 by 9 pieces. I'm just going to use a piece here. And I'm going to come in with the stamp. So this is the big stamp here. And you'll see it's so new that I don't even put the stickers on. Half the time I don't put the stickers on my stamps anyway because I want to get right into playing with them. I'm going to use my watercolor painters. And the watercolor painters come 3 to a packet. And so you get this one with the big fat brush. And you put water into here. Well, you can, but you don't have to. You put water in there, and then one of the things you have to remember is they actually screw on opposite of what you think to keep the water in there. So, and then you use this as the paintbrush end, and it says here these little push buttons. You push that, and the water comes through the brush, and you can paint. You can go to town and paint. I'm going to show you that I use them sometimes with no water in them. So that's one of the brush tips. And then it has this brush tip. It's a little bit bigger of a tip. They're really actually very nice. I wanted you to see if you can see that. And I'm not going to use that one. The one I'm going to use is actually the fine tip. And so it is a fine tip. I locked up. I see that my phone locked up. So I need to do something. Okay. There. Okay. I don't know why that happened, but it happened earlier today too. And hopefully, there we go. I don't know. Like I said, it's new. I got to figure it out. I got some setting wrong, I'm sure. I know it's me. So anyway, I'm going to use the fine tip on here, and I'm going to use just a jar of water. And my other tool is a Kleenex. I want to keep this tip wet, but not overly wet for this technique. And so I'm going to come in. I have lots of colors here. Shaded spruce, crushed curry, blueberry bushel, blackberry bliss, one of my favorites, and fresh freesia. So those are the colors I'm going to use for my color palette. And you can see that they have ink in the lids. Sometimes what I do is I'll squish down the pad. Like this one, I squish down the pad and it puts some ink in there, and then I add a little water. Crushed curry and shaded spruce, I actually added 1 drop of re-inker in there and used that as the palette. And that was because the ink pad was so tight, I could not get it to squish down enough to put any ink in it. The color that I'm going to use for the actual stamping of the stamp is Smoky Slate. And I'll tell you right now, my Smoky Slate ink pad is so dry. However, with this technique, that works great. If I had a wet pad, ink pad, I would actually stamp it off on a piece of paper before I stamped it on here. But it's dry enough that I can stamp it on here, I get the image that I need, and I don't have to worry about it. So I just haven't re-inked it this week because I've been playing with this technique. So I'm going to stamp that down, and you can barely see it. It's a really, really light image, and that's what you want. It could actually even be lighter than that if you chose to, but it doesn't really matter because in the end, when you start adding ink and water to this and watercoloring, those gray lines go away. And sometimes if you've got a stamp that might be a bigger stamp that has some shading in it, those gray lines will help you shade that and exactly where to put ink. So I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. I'm going to tap it off. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to come in with Blackberry Bliss because I love this color. And I'm just going to mix up some ink and get it onto my brush. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go onto your image and you're just going to color right around that gray line. I'm going to scoot this in so you guys can see better. Sorry about that. I think that's as close as I can get it at this point. So you're just going to put ink right into one petal. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to do every other petal on a flower. And the reason for that is so that they can dry in between. Because if I did them all at one time, it wouldn't have any dimension to it. It would just be a flat looking flower. So I'm going to hope my head doesn't get in here. I just want to get a little bit closer. Bad eyes, you know. And so I'm just going around and painting that first petal on every flower that I want to be Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to show you when I'm done here. I'm going to show you the first card I did, and it's this simple. It truly is. And really, your ink or your watercolors are pretty dry, and they dry fairly quickly. Like that Blackberry Bliss is probably dry. Oh, I want to do this one. What was the hardest part was sometimes you might want to look at the stamp or at the image so you can actually see where the flowers are. So once I've done that, I'm just going to get some more ink on and I can bring in some extra water if I want it to be a little bit watery. If I want my ink to be darker, just go into the ink there. And then once I've got that first petal done, it's probably dry enough that I can come in and do a second petal. This is actually a little bit wetter, but you'll get a little bit of a dimension. You'll get a little bit of a barrier with that. So it separates out each petal. And they do not have to be the same color because it's watercolor. So it doesn't have to look the same. I'll tell you how I picked out my colors for this particular card was I have a canvas hanging in my bedroom that I bought. And it's wildflowers. And these are the colors of the wildflowers. And one morning, when I was planning to do this particular tonight's thing, I was looking at that and thought, oh my gosh, those are all, that would look so cool with this stamp set. So that's where my colors came from. Probably why I love it, because it was so simple. All right, and so once you're done with that, then you're going to go to the next color. And so the next color I'm going to bring in is, I'm going to bring in some of this blueberry bushel. And I'm going to paint these little things here, and they're just little tiny petals. But really, this is like a really fine, fine, fine brush at the tip of it. You just barely touch it. And remember, it's watercolor, so it certainly doesn't have to be perfect. And if you make this for somebody, it doesn't matter. They're going to love it. Number one, they're going to think you painted it. And number two, they're going to love it. So those are my blues. I'm going to let those dry a little bit. I'm going to come in with my crushed curry. No, it's not. Yeah. Is it crushed curry? Yeah. Crushed curry. And these these are kind of like, I'm just going to dab some color on them. So these don't have defined petals. They just have, I don't know, like, they look like little clouds, if I were going to describe them. So there's, locked up again. Shoot. Sorry about that. Like I said, I don't know why my phone's locking up, but I'm back. Anyway, these look like, you probably heard me talking, but you couldn't see it. I'm going to have to watch this when I'm all done. So these look like little clouds. So I'm just kind of dabbing some color in there, and then I'll come in and dab a little color in again. Now, the blue is probably dry. So I'm going to come in with some more blue and do the opposite petals. So hopefully they look like flowers. Oops. Just gives you a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to come in with some Blackberry Bliss. And this time, I'm going to make these a little bit darker. So I'm going to do a little more defined line on the petal. And if your watercolors are still, if the paper's still wet, it will just kind of blend out a little bit and move a little bit. But you don't want your paper sopping wet with this no line technique. Oh, look, I forgot a petal here. I'll get that one colored in. I'm bringing some darker color and just put some dimension into those flowers. I don't know, can you see that? I'm hoping you can kind of see that. And then I'm going to come in with some fresh freesia. And I'm just going to dot these. I don't know what kind of flowers these are, but I like them. And just dot those in. And you can do this technique with a bigger stamp set. In fact, I'm going to play with it. Oh, look, I'll just pick up some. I missed a flower here. Get this a little bit darker. And then these have these little spiky looking things here. I'm going to make these. Anyway, I'm going to play with this tonight. I'm going to look and see what kind of stamps I have and do a bigger image with the no line. I'm sure that I'm sure I have an image that I can use, number one. I know I do. But I wanted to play with it with a bigger paintbrush and a bigger image just to see how different it is. And I probably, if using a bigger image, would probably use more water. So there you have it. Now I'm just going to do a couple of leaves because I want to show you, and then I have samples to show you of things that I actually finished. But you'll see it doesn't take forever. I was working on this last night, and I'll show you the card that I did, and I just finished it up today. So I put a lot of shaded spruce onto this brush because I want it to go quite a ways. This is a very light hand, and you're just going to take it where the stems are and go right down the stem. And the light hand, it's really actually, if you get a little heavy like I just did there, you're fine. But you're just going to paint the stems in. And in the end, this really does end up looking, so the leaves, the bigger leaves, just like the flowers, they go right around the gray outline. Like that. And then I'm going to come down this stem and connect that. There's a little notch there. You can always add in, I mean, you could, at this point, once you start making these and painting them, you could paint in other flowers because they're really very simple flowers. But I'll tell you, I really feel artsy. So I kind of got into doing paint by number, which probably sounds really weird when you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, but I was struggling a bit and I needed something that I didn't really have to think about. And so I was doing some paint by numbers, but what I found was paint by numbers are really fun. They take forever. And they don't really look that great when I do them. But this doesn't take forever. It's beautiful, and when I'm done, I could frame it. It's that nice. Good, we're still working here. Sorry. All right, so I'm gonna add some more. So you saw how many green, I can do a lot of green. I probably could have kept going with the green. But I just added some more. And again, with the green, you can come back in after. I'll do some of these sleeves here. You can come back in after and do a darker shade of that spruce into some of those bigger leaves just to give them a little bit of dimension. But you do, you know, for the most part, you want to wait till it's almost dry. Otherwise, they'll just kind of bleed together, but because it's pretty tiny and pretty dainty. That's a good word, dainty. All right, so that's how you no line color. That's how you do the no line watercolors. So let me find the cards that I did. So these were the first ones that I did. I think I actually, so this was the first one I did. It's okay. It's not great. It's okay. I could nitpick the whole thing, but I'm not going to, because you know what? If I make this, finish this into a card, because it's not finished as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't have a sentiment. Probably could use some ribbon or something. If I sent that to somebody, they would think it was beautiful. So I'm not going to nitpick it. I'm going to buck up. And I believe that this was the second one I did. Oh, what happened again? Sorry. This was the second one I did, and I'm happy with it. But you can see where you get the dimension of the flowers here and here. You can kind of see the various petals. There's some smearing because my fingers got in the way, but I like it. This was the third one I did. Again, I've got definitely defined petals. I did a little freesia on the upper plants. So, and I actually stamped a sentiment on this one. Now, the one that I finished, that I was playing with last night and today is very similar to this one that I did today. So I stamped it once here, but here I just turned my paper and I stamped it several times. And then I proceeded to color them all and paint them all. This really does look very similar to my bathroom painting. It's amazing. Okay, and so then I brought in a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock, and I'm going to use some linen thread because everybody has gobs of it, right? And I don't know if I ever told you this technique, but with ribbon, I'm probably not going to do it with this, but with ribbon, if I want to tie a bow, I do 4 lengths of my card, wherever the bow is going to be. If the bow is going to be tied this way, or if it's going to be this way, you're going to do 4 lengths this way. That will give you enough ribbon to tie around your card with a bow. Oh, come on. I think what might be happening is my phone is getting really hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to keep tapping it. Talk a little faster. All right, so let me grab a scissor. I'm going to cut off some linen thread. I'm going to attach this on. And because it's watercolor paper, I'm going to use some green glue. You can see how precise I was with that. I'll flip this over. I cut this the same size as my card base. So my card base is 8.5 by 11 by 5.5. 8.5 by 5.5. Scored it 4 1/4. Fold it in half. There's your base. So I'm going to bring this around. I don't think I have it straight. The nice thing about green glue is if it's not straight, you can move it around a little bit. I'm going to wrap some linen thread around this. Oh, I think that's going to look pretty. Let's do a little better job though. I should have cut it longer. Oh well. I guess when I said 4 for a ribbon, it meant with linen thread too. I probably, when I redo this card, no, I'm not going to redo it. I would probably wrap that linen thread twice. for several reasons, because it looks good and I have tons of lemon thread. I seem to order that a lot. Cute card. That would be fine and dandy. However, I could come in. I don't know. That's watercolor paper. I don't really want that. I'm looking to see what kind of a sentiment I could put on there. Let me grab some cardstock here. So I'm just cutting a piece of cardstock. I'm cutting a 1/2 inch, close to a 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut it to 3 because I can always cut it down. So I'm cutting it down to 3. I'm thinking about adding it here. Let's see. I don't know. Where is that stamp set that I used? Where is the date? No, that's not the one. All right. Oh, I know what I wanted. We're going to do this one. This Unbounded Love is a new stamp set that's coming out, and I like that P stamp. So I'll open this up. It's photopolymer. Look for the P stamp. You guys probably see it right away. Grab a block here. Oh, it's not fat enough. Have you ever had one of those days? We're going to cut this a 3 3/4 or a 3/4 inch. And which stamp set do you love? Lorena, the detail, dainty detail? That is one that's retiring. I'm telling you, it's very sad. Okay, so I have the piece. I'm going to ink it up in Blackberry Bliss. Blackberry Bliss was the color that my son and his wife had at their wedding. Piece, and then I'm going to pull off here. Maybe not. Nope, I'm just going to use this. I should have, see, if I hadn't been messing around with my computer so much, so I just trim that off a little bit. I'm going to make this into a tag. So you go down the middle and then in on each side. And then I'm going to use, sorry for my reach, some dimensional. And I'm just going to tag this onto here. And then I've got a card that I can give to anybody for pretty much any reason because everybody wants peace. So put that in there so I don't lose it. Anyway, cute card. I love that technique. It's really fun. I made some pretty fun cards with it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show, let me move all this. Next thing I'm going to show really is just a fun fold, and it's pretty easy to do, but I wanted to show you from start to finish with all the cuts that I'm making. Not that any of them are hard, they're not, but it's better, I think, for people to actually sometimes see it in progress. So I'm going to bring in my cutter. This is the card. And so it opens up this way, and then it opens up, no, on my back. Yeah. So it opens up this way and it opens up this way. I have not stamped the inside of that, but I will. And then this is the technique I did last week with the thumping. So I am using a piece of Designer Series paper, which is the lavender. I'm using a piece of gorgeous grape cardstock. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys don't miss the whole thing. And a couple of sheets. These are like, oh, I don't know, what size are they? 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. Okay. This piece of cardstock is 4 by 5 1/4. All right, and so I'm going to take this Designer Series paper, and I will tell you, this is the lavender paper, which again is beautiful. Here's a whole bunch of the colors. This paper is actually in the mini catalog, but it's coming back in the big catalog. So it'll be available next year, which is great. So I'm going to take this piece of Designer Series paper, and you can use any kind of paper, any cardstock that you already have. You don't have to just use what I'm using. Putting into the gutter here of my cutter, I'm lining up this corner and I'm lining up this corner. And then I'm coming down and cutting that into a triangle. And then I'm taking this piece of cardstock, a gorgeous grape. I'm going to start by cutting it at 5.5. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to score it at 4.25. Use the scoring blade. Don't use the cutting blade or you'll have a quarter of a sheet of cardstock. I wish you guys could see out the window I'm looking out. There's a big old deer sitting in my front yard. Anyway, so you just have a regular size card base. And then I'm going to take this card base and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with that Designer Series paper. So I'm going to line up this corner and this corner into the gutter of the cutter. Hey, the gutter of the cutter. Once I've done that, I'm going to cut that off. This is just a piece you can use for labels or whatnot, whatever you need. And then you've got that. Then you're going to take the other half of your cardstock and you're going to go and cut this one 3. And you're going to score it also at 4.25. Oh, don't cut it. I almost cut it. You're going to do that. Oh, good gosh. All right, so I'll bring back my pieces. This one's going to get folded in half. Just the card. This one, you're going to take your Designer Series paper triangles. I'm going to use green glue. You can use whatever adhesive you use. And the first triangle, oh well. The first triangle is going to go, might be easier if you open this up so you can actually see that card line. And you're just going to line that up right along the edge there of that card. And then this one, we're going to put adhesive on. And because we want this to have an edge, a frame like this has, I just closed this and then lined those two pieces of paper back up together. Whoops, making sure they are straight, like that. And then adhered it down. So that's the first flap of your card. So the second flap of your card, you're going to come in with those sheets, and you can stamp these first. I'm probably not going to stamp it tonight because I am still having issues with my camera, but I'll finish it all up after tonight. I'm going to lay this one inside because I always put white cardstock inside any base of card that might be dark so that people can write on it. And then I'm going to add that to the top of that. So this is the card that's going to flap out, and then I'm going to add cardstock to the back, or cardstock. I'm going to add liquid glue. And when I adhere that in there, I just want to make sure that this card doesn't get in the way of this flap. And so you want it to match up on all 4. And again, I am not particular that everything matches evenly, but I just want to make sure that this flap closes and this flap closes, and that's how you do your card. Super simple. So it's 8.5 by 5.5 cardstock, scored at 4.25, cut at an angle. The inside piece is 3 by 8.5, scored at 4.25, and then these pieces are 4 by 2.75, both the same. And then that's how the card goes together. And then you put some lovely stamping into it and some dimension, some embellishments. You can see I messed up the stamping on this one, so I'm going to have to fix that. I do that a lot. So it caught an edge, which I haven't talked about catching an edge for a long time in stamping. But just a really pretty card, easy to do. All right, so I'm back. Thanks. So I did have some issues tonight. I'm sure you noticed my camera kept locking up. I know the volume was probably still going, but the camera was locked up. So I'm gonna have to watch it and see, and I might do maybe a technique video on that no line watercoloring, especially once I start playing with it with a bigger image, because I like to show a couple different things with it. I really loved that Dainty Delight stamp set. And again, it was very, very relaxing. So I am going to try and see if I can get to my email. Oh, come on, come on. I just wanted to see if anybody had actually, oh, there we go. It doesn't look like I had anybody, so that's good. If I missed your question on the chat, now would be the time to put it in there. Welcome, Joyce, from Polson. Cool. It's always fun to find other people from Montana. So if I forgot anything, I guess I'll show you next Thursday when I come back and do another live. And I'll get my camera figured out, and hopefully we won't have any issues. Yeah, we'll always have issues. It's technology. So don't forget, if you want my newsletter, www.DDStamps.com is my website. That's where you can sign up for it. I am sending out stuff weekly, tutorials, information, sign-ups. Sign up for getting the catalog if you don't already have a demonstrator, or if you're a customer of mine, you'll get one. I just want to make sure that I got everybody's correct address. So if nobody else has any questions, thank you. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. Have a great night. Thanks.